Huh?
Is that how you'd like to handle this?
That seems a lot simpler than me coming back up and introducing
It
everybody.
usually works a little bit better, so.
Yeah.
So we'll have the runner show. Actually, we're going to have, since Michael's up here, that's Michael's square, and then mayor is right here. And then city manager is right here. Okay. And then assistant city manager is right here. And then I have county district. Don't fill that in here. Yeah. Perfect. And then everybody will just introduce the next speaker, and let me get this press packet ready.
Well, it looks like we're about ready, so we'll get started. What I would like to do is introduce myself. I'm Michael Freilinger, and I'm the President and CEO of the Downtown Development Corporation of Peoria. And we'd like to welcome you to this press conference. We think we have some pretty exciting news to share with you, so we appreciate you coming. We'll have several speakers, and then after they've had an opportunity to make their remarks, we'll take any questions from the press that you might have. So with that, I'd like to start off by introducing our mayor, Mayor Rita Ali, to the podium.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning, everyone. I want to start by saying that Peoria's downtown belongs to all of us. What happens in Peoria's downtown should be of interest to everyone that lives in the city, because a thriving downtown means a thriving city. There's a relationship there. We may not be at the point of thrive downtown, but we're certainly on a pathway to getting there, and I'm very excited about that. I want to take this moment to commend the Downtown Development Corporation in taking the lead in ordering this housing study every 2 years in partnership with the City of Peoria. It's important that we use studies like this to inform important decisions. It's important that we use data to drive our decisions, because data-driven decisions are more accurate, they're more reliable, and they're simply just better decisions overall. So it's certainly how I prefer to work and how I see the city and key partners working together. This year's housing study of the greater Peoria downtown, and when we say greater Peoria downtown, we're talking about the Central Business District, the Riverfront District, the Medical District, the East Bluff Growth Cell District, and the Warehouse District. All those kind of sub areas make up the greater Peoria downtown district. And this year's housing, again, through the study, shows strong demand for new units to be built, and also the opportunities for renovated properties over the next 5 years. Units in the greater downtown area are affordable, unbelievably, and I think the city manager will go into that affordability. And the occupancy rates for downtown rental units remain high at a phenomenal rate, occupancy rate of 98 to 99%. That's pretty fantastic. Now, this compares to a national average of 93.8% occupancy and a state occupancy rate of 92%. More surprising, when you compare the occupancy rate by unit size, the downtown Peoria rate, that is the greater downtown Peoria rate, of 98 to 99% compares with a national average of 75% occupancy and a state occupancy rate of 87.3%. Ultimately, this study suggests a strong demand for downtown rental housing. It's an encouraging sign for new development, and a strong employee population in Greater Peoria downtown helps to drive this. In 2020, there were almost 32,000 people that worked in Peoria's downtown. I think we're going to see an increase in that number because we have a strong medical district. Caterpillar still retains a large presence in Peoria's downtown, and we also have strong banking and insurance industries. So the study concluded really that there are a very positive demand expected for rental units between about 280 to 400 market rate rental units over the next 5 years. I was really delighted to look at the age of the individuals that live in Peoria's downtown. The average age is 33, young people. And that compares with the average age citywide of age 37. That's the median age. So there's housing for everyone, and there's apparently a strong interest in people of different incomes, people of different ages looking to move into Peoria's downtown. With population growth, there comes businesses and supportive service growth. So I expect to see a more thriving Peoria downtown over the next few years. Again, a thriving downtown relates to a thriving city. We're on our way there. At this point, I'd like to introduce our city manager, Mr. Patrick Urich.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Michael, for the leadership that you provide in the Downtown Development Corporation. A study like this is very forward-thinking. It's looking ahead for the city to look and see and plan for what we can do to make sure that we have the housing capacity and that support. And this study really validates the fact that our market and the demand for this type of market rate housing in downtown is there in the greater downtown. So that includes the warehouse district, the medical district. And I also want to thank Bob Anderson and OSF. They've brought almost 1,000 new employees to downtown. With OSF on call in the mission headquarters, we're seeing almost 1,000 new employees coming into work here in the downtown area, and that's going to lead towards this desire to fill these housing units. And we're seeing that demand in the warehouse district. We have developers that we're talking to, and we hope to have a few redevelopment agreements on upcoming council agendas here in the next couple of months that will be showing that this demand is there. There's this desire for apartments and rental units in our community and in downtown and in the warehouse district, and we're very excited about that. The market rate income levels, as the mayor mentioned, we're looking at are between $35,000 and $150,000 would be the income levels that we're trying to target for that. And I think that the Kretschmer study shows that there is certainly some demand for making that happen, and that's something that we want to continue to help to foster. This effort is a collaborative effort. It's something that we have to do with partners like the DDC, who really, the Downtown Development Corporation straddles both the public and private sectors and really works to try and help to foster that development in areas that we as the public sector can't always do. And so that's something that we're very, very pleased with and very glad that we have that partnership as well. So as the mayor said, our occupancy rates are fantastic. They are above the national average, they're above the state average, and that's something we want to continue to drive. At this time, before I turn it over to Councilwoman Jackson, I did want to introduce our new Assistant City Manager, Kimberly Richardson. Kimberly will be, she's been on board now for a little more than 3 weeks. She's now getting 2 snowstorms in 3 weeks, so that'll be great. But overall, I'm excited to have her on board. She'll be heading up our economic development team and really helping to provide that leadership here within the organization as well. So at this time, I'd like to ask Councilwoman Jackson to come forward and share a few comments as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick Urich. I just want to say, as a newly elected city council member, it is very exciting to be a part of the Downtown Development Corporation and hear about all of the exciting things that they are doing. And I'm particularly excited about this project as it relates to housing. The Downtown Development Corporation and the city work together with Valerie Kretschmer and Associates to provide this study every couple of years. And the results, as you have heard, show a strong rental market demand over the next 5 years. And that is very encouraging and beneficial for developers who are looking to invest in our Peoria downtown. Downtown apartments are, as you've heard, affordable, and they're also convenient for the workers and also for folks who want to live within walking distance of restaurant, bars, the Civic Center, and other various social activities that occur in and around downtown as well as the riverfront. As more people are living and working in downtown, we expect to see additional convenience-oriented stores as well as services that eventually we hope to see open and serve our growing population. This, in turn, will make greater downtown Peoria a much more desirable residential location. And as I said, I'd like to say in conclusion, as a native Peorian, having watched our downtown area evolve over the years and go through changes, this is probably one of the most exciting times, as we hope to see at some point more people living in downtown Peoria as we have ever in the city's history. So next, I'd like to introduce Bob Anderson from the Downtown Development Corporation.
Well, good morning. Again, my name's Bob Anderson. I serve as Vice Chair of the Downtown Development Corporation, and it's a pleasure to be here to share this exciting news. As we've heard, every 2 years we do this housing study. It helps us to understand more completely where our opportunities lie. I feel very privileged to serve on the DDC. We have a great group of individuals representing a wide variety of expertise from real estate, banking, healthcare, city government, all working together to try to improve the lives of those that live and work in the downtown. And this is just the latest example of that. Led by Michael, I think the DDC has done tremendous work and will continue to do so in the future. And I'd like to invite Michael back up to the podium to answer any questions that you might have.
The timeline for the study is essentially they look at a 5-year period and say these are the number of new units that we expect the demand to be for over a period of 5 years. So every year they give you a total of what the new demand is over a 5-year time period, and then they give you an estimate of how many units per year that you can absorb without oversaturating the market.
Thanks for the question. So what we're really looking at right now is primarily in the warehouse district is where we're seeing the first efforts, where most of the housing demand is showing, where we're seeing developers that are interested in some of the warehouse buildings. They can take advantage of the historic tax credits. But we'll also start to see, I think, in the central business district where we may have buildings that could be good candidates. Just across the street here is the Civic Center Plaza, for example, and that was an office building that has been converted to kind of a mixed-use building that has commercial and it has residential in that as well. So I think that we'll see more and more of those opportunities present themselves, but right now it's the warehouse district first, and then we'll probably see more in the central business district.
More convenience stores, like a grocery store, or more parking, like all those extra elements that,
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a great question. What we're looking at is that as you see more housing units in an area, then you see more demand for services, and then that tends to follow. And there are discussions with developers that are looking at trying to provide that support within their properties. So one of the things that we've tried to encourage with all development in the warehouse district is mixed-use development that would include both commercial and residential, so that we would have that kind of blended together. So that's certainly something that we'd like to see, that we'd like to encourage. And as we get more households in the warehouse district and in the central business district, we'll see those support services will pop up.
sure, and then I might be jumping the gun a little bit, but are you going to be working with national apartment complexes like Avalon or something like that, or are you doing more local developers?
So many of the developers that we've been working with, I would call regional developers in terms of their Midwestern developers that have some experience doing the type of historic renovation work that is required on some of the properties. We do have national developers that are here in the community that operate and manage large multifamily apartment complexes, and we would be open to having conversations with other national developers if there's an interest and a desire. We've had some that have come through the warehouse district and talked about it, but none that have said, yes, this is the project that we want to start. Well, I think it's a combination of both. I think that you are seeing that we do have new employees that are coming to the area. We do see that we have people that have been moving into the city, people moving from the region as well that are moving within that, as well as people from the city that are looking to, as you look at the age range, right? You have, as the mayor mentioned, that we had the median age is 33, so that tends to lean towards younger residents. But we also have people that live in downtown that are empty nesters that have decided to move and make the decision to live here in the central business district and in downtown, based upon the fact that they don't want to have to maintain a house anymore, and they've got a nice apartment or a condo that they can live in and enjoy that. So it's really a combination of all of those factors that we're looking at. I think that the target population that we're looking for is kind of dual tracked, right? I mean, we're looking at people within the market rate approach that are young professionals as well as empty nesters. I think that as someone looks to start to raise a family, they have other decisions that they want to make in terms of space sometimes, and a lot of times that's what it comes down to. So I think the Kretschmer study does show, and I think it's in the document, that we do have a higher number of younger children, I was trying to think of the word, but children, younger children in the warehouse district in downtown right now than the rest of the population. But as they get to school age, you start to see people moving out, buying a house, moving in a different direction. Mm-hmm. Well, on the affordability side, that's where you can work with products like the low income housing tax credit, which is it's really a terrible name for that tax credit because it really talks about housing for people that are making up to potentially 80% of the area median income. Our area median income is for a household is about $51,000. So at 80%, you're talking about people at the lower end of the market rate range. And many times these are individuals that are new to the workforce that are coming out that may be in an entry-level position. They could be people that are working in the service industry, that are bartending, or that are working at restaurants, or that are in hospitality. So there's opportunities to provide that support. We do want to look at how we can find that mix of both market rate and affordable. I think that the tax credits allow that opportunity, just as the historic tax credits allow the opportunity for renovation as well. So we do, and I think that becomes part of the conversation, a part of the equation, is that you look at that and you start to see where a development like that might make sense, or is there a mix? There may be a mix of both affordable units and market rate units in development, and we've had those discussions with interested developers in the past.
I'm curious, looking at the map here, greater downtown Peoria is defined not only as the warehouse district and the kind of traditional downtown area, it also goes up into the North Valley. Can you describe kind of why that is?
Well, I think that as we started to look at the North Valley, its proximity to downtown, some of the investments that have been made along Spalding make it a prime candidate for redevelopment. The city has adopted a tax abatement zone within the North Valley that would afford the opportunity that as we see new construction, that we can abate property taxes for single-family homes in that area. And so that provides another look. It's also part of a tax increment financing district within the East Village growth cell, and that's another reason why we wanted to look at that. Well, there is a significant amount of parking in downtown and the warehouse district. We have over 9,000 public spaces in downtown and the warehouse district. But there are needs and there are demands for additional parking, and we'll continue to look at that. We've made a request of our legislators that if there's capital funding available, we'd love to see a parking structure for the warehouse district. We have currently signed a redevelopment agreement to take some property just south of Washington Street along Commercial Street next to WTVP Studios and put 300 surface parking spaces there. So we understand that there's demand that is being put in the warehouse district because there really wasn't a lot of parking lots in that area. But as we get into the central business district, we have ample parking. So right now, with what I think that's somewhat of a misnomer because we have a lot of reconstruction and renovation of existing historic structures, and that's where we're seeing that. Whether that's an entirely commercial investment like OSF did with the Block and Cool building, or if we look at 812 Southwest Washington, where we have the Dubin Development Corporation has been looking at putting 126 units in. You look at the Winkler Lofts, that was a renovation. Persimmon Lofts, you start to look at those buildings in the warehouse district. They're existing historic structures that are being renovated. Eventually, we're going to start to see some new construction that's occurring, and that's another aspect that we just need to prepare for, is that eventually there's going to be some of the new construction that's being built. At the same time, at the same time that we've been seeing this downturn or this lack of new construction, we have been seeing a lot of work on the renovation side, the historic renovation side. I certainly think the demand is there, and the resources are there because we have the River's Edge redevelopment zone, because we have our enterprise zone, coupled with the investments that we have with our tax increment financing districts. we have all the tools in place to help a developer as they look to take a historic building and renovate it and put apartments in. So the demand is there with the existing housing or the existing building stock that we have.
The COVID pandemic created a lot of empty office space downtown. Is there any plans, or have you heard of any plans to convert empty office space into residential, or how does empty office space factor into this plan?
Well, I think that that's one of the steps that we need to continue to look at, right? Is as we look at what is the demand for commercial space in downtown, particularly office space. What are some candidates for conversion to housing, like the Civic Center Plaza building, for example? And so that's the natural next step in this development, is to see, is there areas within that? Michael, do you want to add anything on that front from that end?
I would just say that we eventually expect that to be happening, but it's an expensive process. We'll probably have to look at the incentive package and how it's structured to get the same type of incentive benefit in, let's say, the central business district as we would in the warehouse district, just because of existing valuations, historic buildings, that kind of stuff. So it'll be a combination of factors, but we certainly expect it to happen. The other concern is some of the commercial structures that are in the central business district really don't lend themselves for being converted into residential, just because of the infrastructure, piping, and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be select properties that will be able to take advantage of that. There's at least some interest in providing that at the state level, so we would welcome any support to help the developer move into the central business district to make conversions into residential, because right now that's where the strongest demand is for residential rental properties as opposed to commercial. But we'll see that change as we fully implement this plan. So with that, I'll turn it back to Patrick.
So the overall vision that the council has had for a number of years with downtown and the warehouse district is that we see a growing population. We saw over the last 10 years with the census that the warehouse district was one of the areas in the city that actually saw an increase in population. So we want to continue to see that drive of population up in this area. The use and the redevelopment of existing buildings is critical for that. And then we want to start to see how we can provide additional services and amenities in this central core. This is the heart of the region of this Peoria region. So we want to make sure that we're providing those opportunities. We're waiting on a state grant of $15 million to renovate the riverfront that would do some park planning. So we're looking at that. We've been kind of doing the initial work on that front. We're also looking at what are other placemaking opportunities we can have with downtown in order to get people to come back. The Civic Center is excited for another year of shows and opportunities. Right now there's a concert getting ready to unload as we speak right outside. So continue to have those opportunities is what we want to provide. This is about the quality of life for all of this region, and this is what we want to try and grow here in the heart of the city and in the heart of downtown. So. Well, absolutely. It is a walkable city, but one of the things within downtown and the warehouse district that we're looking at is how we can apply our complete streets principles to that. The reason we're currently working, for example, on Adams and Jefferson and converting that from one-way to two-way through the central business district. That will again provide some additional walkability, additional opportunity for people to move throughout the area, and also provide the investment into the infrastructure that we need downtown. So that's another vital aspect of what we're talking about. As of right now, we're not having any of those specific discussions with developers about setting aside a portion of that. If the developer wanted to, because of the way that their capital stacks up in terms of getting a project completed, we would be more than welcome to do that. So that's something we would certainly, we're not discouraging it in any way with any developer if they wanted to talk about that. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
The other thing that I would say in addressing affordable housing is there are significant federal grants that already exist and credits. So when a developer chooses to look at affordable housing, there's significant incentives from the federal level. I don't think the state needs to do anything, or the city needs to do anything in particular for that, because there's enough incentive programs for affordable housing. And at some point, we'll probably see more of that. But right now, because the market rate demand is so high, that's where you're seeing most of the development projects be in that price category. But it will change as the market moves forward. So.
Any other questions? So we already are looking beyond downtown. We have invested in a MacArthur Corridor redevelopment plan where we've been looking at the MacArthur Corridor, looking at how we can provide commercial and residential opportunities within the MacArthur Corridor. That project has been the original kind of foundational plan was put together, and now we're working with PCCEO here locally to try and find some commercial and residential development plans that we can put together along the MacArthur Corridor. We have worked with the Illinois Housing Development Authority to do some planning in the North Valley, in the South Side, and we're looking at how we might be bringing those plans back at some point in time this year for council to discuss. So this effort continues across the city in all different areas. We continue to look and plan and start to think about what are those types of residential opportunities we need to be thinking about, coupled with commercial opportunities along our major corridors.
So what are the next steps after this?
The next steps with this was validation. This is the validation that the market is strong in downtown and the demand is there. The next steps will be, as I mentioned, as we start working with developers that we currently have underway, bringing those development agreements to council to show, just like we have the current 126 units at 812 Southwest Washington under construction, that there are other buildings that are coming down the pipe. So. Well, the buildings have been breaking ground. So so what we're looking at is that hopefully over the course of this next year that we'll be seeing more buildings coming forward, and we'll have those announcements hopefully as soon as next month. But we'll see as we keep working through that. You guys are lucky you get a twofer today. So I want to shift gears if I could to the weather and just talk about that for a few moments and answer any questions that you might have. Right now, with this storm event that's coming in, we're anticipating 2 inches of rain, coupled with about 0.4 of an inch of ice, and then possibly 5 to 11 inches of snow. With this, and because of that storm event, we are going to institute a parking ban beginning tonight at 10 p.m., and that'll run through 6 p.m. on Saturday to allow our crews to get into not only the arterial streets, but the residential streets as well. Our Public Works Snow Fighter team is out right now currently putting salt on the streets to try and pre-treat as much as we can. It's going to be a difficult challenge, obviously, with the rain and everything else. But we know that after the storm event, for the next 24 hours, after that, we're going to be in sub-zero temperatures, very cold temperatures, which makes using salt and that type of material to get the ice off the streets very difficult. So hopefully we're going to continue to attack that and address that. The Public Works crews are going to be out. We just ask the motoring public to really be cautious about travel during this period of time. And if you don't need to go out over the next 24 hours, particularly tomorrow. Tomorrow from about 5 in the morning until about 5 in the evening is when we're going to see the worst part of this storm. So that's something we would just ask that people be mindful of that. If you can work from home, great, because we want to make sure that our snow